Dear listeners, like I think about the last time you faced, um, uh, just think like this that the last time that you faced something that felt impossible. Maybe that you stood at the bottom of a mountain you didn't think you could climb. Maybe looked at a choice that had no easy answer. We tell ourselves stories about who we are in those moments, and sometimes those stories can trap us or set us free, right? So today we are talking about the obstacles, choices, and what it really means to do the right thing when everything inside you is screaming to keep up. Yeah. So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and I'm so glad that all of you are here today. And like this is the show is all about making sense of the messy, real stuff that affects our mental health every single day. There is no jargon, no quick fixes, definitely, but just the honest conversations that meet you where you are. Yeah. And joining me today is a very lovely guest. Please welcome Jack Baldwin. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Just to be specific, it's Zac, Z-A-C,
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
Okay. Perfect. It's Zach. Thank you. Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce Zach. So, um, he has written a novel that digs deep into overcoming massive obstacles and doing the right thing, like even when it uh, costs you everything, right? So, exactly. So, dear listeners, trust me, there are a lot of things to discuss today, and I believe you'll learn a lot of things from Zach. So, by the way, let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. So, I really want to start with something like, like when people think about overcoming obstacles, uh, there's often this idea that it's all about the willpower or toughness, like uh, pushing through no matter what it is. So, what do you think? Is the biggest misconception that you have noticed about what it really takes to get through or something which is massive?
I think we have words that have an automatic judgment. For instance, unreasonable. You hear someone say, he's unreasonable or she's unreasonable, and there's a negative connotation to that. But if you look at the incredible accomplishments, they had to be unreasonable to achieve it. They had, you know, climbing a mountain, you're gonna climb Mount Everest? Well, that's unreasonable, but you ignore that and move on anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, to me, it's important perception that other people who don't see it or whatever will call you stubborn, unreasonable, and you've got to be okay with that. And even if you fail and they'll go, "See, I told you so," you still accomplish something by trying to move it. And you should never feel bothered or ashamed that you gave an attempt even if it failed.
Mm, I agree. And when someone is in that thick of that, right? So how do you how do they start to notice the difference between pushing themselves forward in a um healthy way versus just grinding themselves down?
That I think is the hardest one, because, again, people outside looking in would say, "You're crazy, give it up, look how tired you are, you need rest, you need to eat," or, whatever admonitions they're throwing at you.
Yeah.
And, again, the people that kinda go beyond that achieve great things, but also there are ones that go beyond it and fail. And it's really if you can still be, if you will, aware of other people, considerate of them a bit, go crazy with your goal. But if you find that you're alienating everyone and that, you're angry all the time or whatever, well, then maybe you should relook at what you're trying to do.
Mm.
There has to be some positive, even if, you're just struggling, there's some motivation. In writing, I'll have people say, "Hey, I wanna write," and I'll say, "That's terrific." I have to write. I
Yes.
don't I don't have a choice. It's gotta come out of me or I'm gonna, turn into a turnip or something. I don't know, but,
Mhm.
um, and that have
Yeah.
to me, is your own personal resonance, and if you have to, you gotta ignore what other people are saying and just go with it. Unless, of course, you're making yourself so miserable that you can't be with you as well as anybody else. That's a totally different thing. But if you're driven in a positive way, "I must do this,"
Yeah.
to me, it's go to town.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's such an important distinction because we hear so much about the resilience and grit, but uh, if like uh, we are not paying attention to what's actually sustaining us versus like what's depleting us, then we can obviously end up some stuck, obviously more stuck, and not say some, it's more stuck than when we started.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
I it, when I wrote in my biography that when I was writing, I wrote female lead characters in scripts, and I got production companies and studios and wanting to buy the script, but they wanted to change the leading character from a female to a male,
Oh.
and I turned them down. And a lot of my friends are going, "You're crazy! What are you doing? Take whatever." But I realized I would be more unhappy compromising on something like that than achieving, I never made it, quote, unquote, "in Hollywood," but I prefer that over looking at a movie that I wrote a female character and it's a guy in it for no real reason except that they were uncomfortable with a woman doing amazing things, you know? So, you've gotta be true to you even though sometimes it's gonna hurt.
Exactly. Mm. Very true. Very true. Yeah. And also like, I mean, you mentioned like doing the right thing as a core theme in your love novel. But like, when someone is facing a huge challenge, right? So, what makes it so hard to know that, I mean, what the right thing even is? Like, what gets in the way of that clarity?
I have a phrase that, again, words that mean something negative is that I'll say to people, "I embrace my stupid."
Mhm.
Uh, and what I mean is that the brain is helpful. The brain, it analyzes whatever, but there's a point where you are no longer doing, you're only thinking. Um, or to me, vice versa, is that when you start to do, for I'll go back to my writing, is that I'll think about it a bit, and try to organize my thoughts and, the basic story structure or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I physically am writing, I'm stupid. I'm letting just, the energies around me, whatever the universe pour into me. And whether you're going for an Olympic gold or you're thinking deeply or whatever, there's a point where you just have to not think. And again, this is where other people will be throwing things at you. You should do this, you should do that. And you've got to hear your voice first and get rid of your brain, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Makes sense. But I also want to ask, like, I mean, when fear or doubt is very loud, is that something, I mean, is there something that can help someone reconnect with uh, what actually matters to them in that moment?
Yeah, yes, forgive me for being repetitive a bit, but yes, it's get out of your head because your head is the one saying, "Oh, gee, I don't know," or you're listening to other people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," and you've got to step away from that and just truly ask yourself, "Do I need to?" Not want, "Gee, that'd be fun." It be, "I need to do this," and if you need to do this, get rid of all those, just dive, because thinking, there's no, if you see someone thinking, what are they doing? They're just sitting and their brain might be working feverishly, but they're not doing anything. And self-doubt and double checking yourself and all that only works if you're not doing it. If you're doing it, you're too busy. You know, you're flying the plane. You don't have time to go, should I be flying this plane? You're on the plane. You got
No, definitely it is totally correct as you said. So, uh, and I'll also ask you one more thing. I mean, I definitely want to talk about the everyday part, right? Like, most of us are not facing one giant obstacle, but we are dealing with a dozen smaller ones that pile up and feel just as overwhelming. So, how does like what you explore in your novel um show up in those daily quieter struggles?
those actually for me are harder. I like the impossible. Those are
Okay.
I- uh, but the daily, I think again, it's back to if I'll give you a great example. I have a job and I'd rather be writing and I'd rather be doing more creative things. And one day I realized either embrace the job, do the very best you can, and enjoy the challenges that are in that job, or quit because it's not fair to you or anybody else if you're sitting there miserable, you know. So, look at the broader picture. And I think that those little things, if you let yourself enjoy them, even I always spilled milk. Oh, that was funny, and clean it up and move on.
Mm.
But I think you can fall into the trap that everything is important and everything will hinge on something. And instead of just, I'm going to wake up tomorrow or it'll all work out, and 100 years from now, I won't remember any of this.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So, okay, and uh, like if someone is feeling worried by all these three things, what do you say? Like, what will be the one shift in perspective that might help them see their situations differently?
That's difficult in the sense, obviously, every person has their own
Mm.
issues, but I will go back to action. Is if you find you're sitting still and you're on a precipice and oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall off or whatever, and you freeze,
Mm.
that's almost as dangerous. So to me, and I'm talking emotionally, I use it as an analogy, but just you get caught up so much in all this. Just find one thing. It can be a small thing,
Yeah, yeah.
clean your desk or your bed or vacuum or go out for a walk, jog, or play with your dog, something to break you out of the enormity that you are feeling. Because ultimately, there is no enormity. You know, again, your heart's gonna beat, your lungs are gonna work. As long as that happens,
Yeah.
you know, move on. So I would take small bites of things
Mm.
and try to remember to enjoy it. Appreciation is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
And, uh, even if you have to, dredge, I "Hey, I've got a car and someone else doesn't." I mean, it can be, menial, uh, but look at things that you've got that you would prefer to have, even food. I'm eating.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so appreciation and movement would be my 2 suggestions just in general.
Hmm. No, no, I totally agree with you on this. Totally, totally. So, um, and obviously, I mean, it tells everything. Like when we are overwhelmed, it's easy to think that we are uh, feeling at all of it, but recognizing that even small voices actually matter, and uh, mm, that even one intentional steps counts. So that can shift
Yes,
the whole feeling, right? So,
absolutely. A movement's incredible.
mm,
You're scared of falling, so you stand still. As soon as you step, you change the dynamic immediately, even if you fall, but most of the time you're not going to fall. You think you're going to fall, but walking is falling with you catch yourself. If you move your leg, you're going to fall on your face. So that you've got to embrace that. And I think once you start that, it does shift the paradigm. It really can.
Yeah, exactly true. So, uh, yeah, I mean, one more thing also I want to ask you about, like, see, here's the thing that nobody talks about enough. I feel, um, you take the step, you make progress, and then something knocks you back, right? So how do your characters and how do you think real people handle setbacks without losing hope or kind of giving up entirely?
Actually, I have discovered that's a running theme through my writing. My latest book and the book before that are good examples of feeling overwhelmed. I do action, so that usually it's you're outnumbered and outgunned, and how you move forward, kind of thing. But the the setbacks can be learning because if forgive me, if you're fighting someone
Mm,
and you realize they're better than you and they knock you down, you can learn from that. Okay, what did they do and what can I adjust? And you've got to do it quickly because you're in the middle of a fight. But you can learn, and I think that's true with any setback. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever read anybody's biography who was successful that didn't fail, including Elon Musk, or movie stars or whatever. They got rejected. They failed. They ran out of money. I mean, you just again, we're back to movement. Is
mm.
you have a setback, you just gotta keep moving. You fall off the mountain, you climb back up the mountain. I don't know. You know, there's no, or again, if you find you don't need to anymore, that must, that have to. If you don't have that, good. Then go do something else that's fun. There are some people who are driven to, conquer anything. They enjoy the life, they enjoy their family, they enjoy raising their, kids or whatever. That's fantastic. And those people are, all the power to them. But the people that you're kind of talking to, I think, are the people that have a goal or have some drive to be, if you will, more than where you're at right now.
Yeah.
And for that, you just have to keep going and not get discouraged at the results, which is very difficult. But I if you're only looking at the results and not looking at the process, then you're gonna end up heck, you've heard stories that, Academy Award winners who are unhappy, you know, because they got there and, "Oh, that's all there is?" So you have to enjoy the process. You have to have that have to write, have to make a brick wall or whatever, and enjoy the process, even if, or forgive me, but especially if it's hard. If it's easy, I find I kind of go, okay, well, that happened.
Yeah.
Where when I see a hill when I'm running, when I see a hill, I usually want to sprint it to see if I can sprint all the way up to the top. And you know, but that is more fun and challenging than going, "Oh, that's a steep hill. Let's see if I can walk around it." It's like, "Well, okay, but I'd rather see what I can do."
Mm, I agree, Zach. Uh, so also, like, if I ask you to give one advice to the listeners today, um, what you say?
Wow, that's hard. I would say this, there's a saying
Mm,
of "Consider the source."
okay.
Someone says something, "Consider the source." I would agree. I would suggest doing the opposite of that. Do not consider the source. Listen to whatever is said, weigh it. If it doesn't fit, throw it out. If it does fit, use it. Because the most distinguished professor of whatever can say something stupid, and a 6-year-old can come up with some brilliant thing. So if you only consider the source, someone who's in power can hurt you, right? Because, "Oh, you'll never make it in this town. I've been a director for 100 years and you're terrible." And if because they're this big famous director, you go, "Oh, I'll give up." No, you can't do that. You've got to hear your voice first and then absorb and learn from others, but don't let them. You talk about setbacks. The number one setback is someone walking up to you saying, "You suck," and you buy it. You know, they're not invested. They're not gonna, they're not paying your bills. They're not doing anything. But that one sentence knocks you off your loop and suddenly, you're thinking, "Oh, I should give up." Hear your voice and again, be unreasonable. You know?
Exactly.
I'll shut up.
Yeah. And if the listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
I am not a social media person. I'd love to hear from anybody. It's simple. It's Zac Baldwin, ZACBALDWIN at Hotmail.
Mhm.
And then my books are available on Legend of Johnny Swan and Milk Run are on Amazon, and I think Barnes and Noble and a couple other places. And there's audiobooks as well.
Amazing. I mean, really happy that you still using Hotmail because I lost my the earlier Hotmail password and all. And after that, I never been to Hotmail. But and it's great to hear someone who's still using Hotmail.
I've used it seriously for 45 years now. It's not Hotmail. And my problem with social media is there's a technical side to it I don't really want to, but it's an investment of time where I'd rather write than, you know, being bombarded by all these, tweets and twats and twerks and stuff.
Yeah, I understand. No worries. So yeah, I mean, there is another what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference. And there is just like the right thing is not always the easy thing. And
No.
yeah, and overcoming obstacles doesn't mean doing it perfectly or alone. So it's very, very important. And thank you so much, Zach, for sharing your perspective today. It is really, really helpful. And
Thank you very much for having me.
yeah, and also listeners, like we spend so much of our lives waiting for the perfect moment, the clearer answer, the guarantee that it will, I mean, all work out or everything. But truth is, growth happens in the uncertainty. It happens when we take the kind of imperfect step and we acknowledge the fear and move anyway. If yeah, like when we let ourselves be human through the whole messy process. So you don't have to, yeah, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep showing up, and that's it, right?
That's very much.
Yeah. So with this, thank you so much for being here, dear listeners. If you are listening, or maybe you'll be listening later, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.